All right. Hello, hello. Welcome to today's talk. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to stop draining your energy and how to get it back, especially this holiday season. Okay, so many of my clients have been struggling with this recently, and I wanted to make sure I talked about it, how to stop draining your energy, because I see so many, and even myself, this is something that I am struggling with or working on that I've like had to keep going over this holiday season because in the holidays, it's like people ask more of you. You ask more of yourself. Your work is maybe tighter. There's more deadlines. There's less time to work because maybe you're taking days off or you've got the holidays coming up. And maybe you're overextending yourself. You're saying yes to more things than you really want to. Okay. And then when we do that, it feels like an obligation, which just feels even harder because no one wants to be told what to do. Um, and then sometimes we say, so talking about draining your energy in two major ways here. So one is like bigger, yeah, saying yes to certain things in your life, like decisions to go to events or to help out at events, making something, overextending yourself on like decisions you're making for gifts for people, but then also how you're spending your time in between. Okay, what you're doing in the moment to moment, day by day situations. So that could be like those distractions that you have, like picking up your phone and just scrolling for a while or binging shows or eating too much. You say you're going out and then you end up eating too much or drinking too much or too much sugar. Or maybe you have it at home. You just have more sugary things at home. And those types of things are draining your energy as well. So it's the bigger like decisions, and we'll talk about it in regards to like relationships as well, because I'm a relationship coach. But then this like relationship with yourself and how you decide to spend your time, and how that can also drain your energy. Okay, so let's get into it. My name is Stephanie Worley. I am a life and relationship coach. I'm also a mental health therapist, and I help people create conscious relationships by communicating consciously and authentically. So this is part of it. And this is more of an internal dialogue today, but it reflects in your relationships, and it determines, not determines, but it impacts your relationships. So let's get to it. So when we're saying yes to everything, let's start there. This often gets into people pleasing, and we're not going to get into people pleasing today because that could be like its own 1 hour webinar on how to stop people pleasing. Um, but it is a major source of energy drain, especially when we talk about relationships and especially around the holidays. Like we want to do so many things, but do we really want to? Do you actually want to? So we'll get to that. Um, Oftentimes when we're saying yes to things that maybe we're not really certain we want to say yes to, but we're like, but I don't want to make them feel bad, or I don't want to be viewed in a certain way. When you say yes, when you really want to say no, you're lying. You're lying to them, and you're lying to yourself. And that does not feel good. It creates cognitive dissonance. It creates this like friction within yourself, and it creates friction within the relationships that you have. And it's draining because you don't want to do it. And you've got this extra layer of friction that now you emotionally have to carry and deal with. This is resentment. This is where resentment comes in because you're constantly saying yes to things that you don't really want to say yes to. Okay. And then saying yes to this other part is saying yes to like the distractions and the overeating, the over drinking, the over shopping, maybe, or staying up too late shopping. These are the things we often are doing or saying yes to avoid something else in our lives. So maybe, and this is like you're avoiding some sort of commitment to you that you have for something you want greater in your life. So maybe you're working on a goal. Maybe you've got a fitness goal, a business goal, or like a side hustle, or like a project you're working on. And instead of doing those things, you're deciding to overeat, overdrink, or take care of yourself after being hungover, drinking too much and then being hungover and having to take care of yourself instead of working on the project or the bigger goals that you have. I like to say, like, the harder things in life, if that makes sense for you. Okay. So, again, the avoiding the doing the harder things in life that actually create results, the results that you truly want in your life. And I think around the holidays, we get thrown off of the things we're really trying to strive for and do. And we get caught up in all because the distractions are so easy and so there and even more available during the holidays. Someone out of nowhere calls you like, hey, let's go look at Christmas lights. Let's go check out this Christmas bar. Let's go do this. Let's go, a Christmas concert or music concert here and lights over there, right? There's so many things that you can do instead of focusing on the hard things that you were committed to before. And maybe that's okay. Maybe it's not. And that's what we're going to talk about today is like this consciousness. I talk about conscious communication and authentic relationships and being conscious and aware. And what does that actually mean? And that's what we're going to dive into today. So these two areas that really drain, two ways that really drain your energy. Now, what do we do? Okay. So that's what we're going to get into today. So when we say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. And what is that something else? This is what we want to be conscious of. This is what we want to be aware of. So I've got a tool to teach you today. It's super simple. I use it all the time with my clients. Actually, I have a worksheet that I give them to do this, but you can simply do this on a piece of paper. It's a decision grid, okay? And all it is, go and make some quadrants here, is the pros and cons of saying yes and the pros and cons of saying no. And writing out each one for your decisions. So I was sick this week, and this weekend I'm supposed to host a lunch for my family, and I was just like, the house is a mess. I don't feel like cleaning anymore. And I had committed to this. I had committed to hosting lunch, and I'm sick and I don't want to, and I can't. I don't feel like I can. So I went through this, wrote this on paper, which I feel like this is so relevant for people because this is something we're constantly coming up with at this point in the month and the year. But if I said yes to hosting, what are the positives? What are the pros? More time with my family together. I don't host a lot, so it's like, okay, I got my hosting, I had everyone over. What are some of the negatives for hosting? Well, it's work. I got to clean, I got to cook, I do all the things. And then say no. What are the benefits of saying no? And it's not just the opposite of the negative or the yes. And this is where I think oftentimes we want to shortcut it and just do one pro and con list. But it is super important you take the time to actually look at the pros and cons for saying no. It is slightly different, and your brain will want to cheat and just not do this and skip this part because it isn't quite the exact opposite. Okay. So the benefits of saying no is that I get rest, I get more time, quiet time with my family. And not just that day, but days prior, right? Because the event isn't just showing up for the event or hosting, it's, days before you're doing things. So I get the whole of that time back as well. And what are the negatives of saying no or canceling? For me, it was, well, my mom was upset. People were upset. People were, expecting it and wanting it. And I understand that. And thought about that and that's a big negative for me. So I had all four. There's more to it all, but I had all of these filled in, and then I could consciously see and make a decision based on the information I had now and decide, what am I going to do? Am I still going to host? Am I going to cancel? Could there be other options? Like if there was a certain negative, I did look into like catering, like getting food catered, right? Hiring a cleaner. Is there other ways to delegate this? So, using this decision grid, it's so simple, but it makes you so aware and conscious of what you're deciding and why. And that is so important. You need to know what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to. Because what's going to happen is that you have to have your back. Once you make a decision of how you're going to spend your energy or how you're going to spend your time, you have to have your back. You have to know your reasons why, one thing, and you have to like your reasons why. And you're the only one who has to like your reasons why you said yes or why you said no. Once you can do that, then so if other people have reactions, you know why you said yes. You know why you said no. So for me, canceling the lunch, yes, people are upset. And I know all of my reasons why. I didn't apologize. I didn't have to um, go into a big spiel and over explain myself. Just said, no, it's not happening. Like, I'll see you. We're going to another event right after. So, I'll see you at the next thing. We'll meet up there. It was that simple. Okay. They don't have to understand. So now looking at those like two main areas that really drain your energy, saying yes to things that you don't really want to say yes to, before you say yes to something, put the pros and cons and also put the pros and cons of saying no. What really is it? Knowing what you're saying yes to, but also knowing what you're saying no to. Because again, you're going to have your back. And then in regards to the little things that drain your energy every day, like the scrolling on social media or eating too much or drinking too much, right? Like when you decide ahead of time how much I'm going to eat and drink or what I'm going to do, get specific about why I'm putting up this like boundary or this barrier for myself to not drink more. What am I saying yes to when I say no to another drink? I'm saying yes to an early morning workout because that is still very important to me and it helps me reduce my stress and it helps with this and that and all the other things, help me go to sleep, whatever it is for you. But getting really clear, that way when you say no to that drink, even though like part of you really wants to, it's going to be a hard decision in the moment maybe, that you're going to say no because I know what I'm saying yes to. And that is that consciousness and that is empowerment and that feels really good and it helps you live in alignment and helps life feel easier. So it takes a little bit of work on the front end, but life gets so much easier when you're showing up consciously, when you're showing up authentically, when you know what you want, when you know why you know what you want. And then act accordingly to it in the moment. It's simple, it is not easy. And that's why my clients come to me because it's not easy. And so having someone to kind of work through this with you can be super helpful. It is definitely doable on your own, but it's also nice to have another set of eyes and ears to challenge you and work through this. So let me know if you have any questions. You can write them down in the chat there. Just make sure I got everything. Invites, helping, how you respond. Yeah. So the impact on relationships, because being a relationship coach, that's what I mainly deal with. So, right, when you're saying yes to things that you truly want to say yes to and you truly want to do, it doesn't become this obligation and it keeps you out of resentment. Okay. Now we're stepping up to this, like, well, what if they're upset with me and this people pleasing piece of it? But like I said, that's a whole nother training. That's a whole nother training. Okay. So there's many layers to people pleasing. But part of it is just like owning you and knowing what your yeses are, why you're saying yes or why you're saying no, and your reason behind that. And you get to just let the other person have their reaction and know that they could be disappointed. And that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay if they're disappointed. It's okay. You need to have your back. And for you to have your back, you need to be aware of what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to in each decision, in each moment. This will create tighter relationships. Again, it's gonna create more openness and honesty, and it's gonna create more trust within yourself, with your relationship with yourself. Okay, so we're gonna start let go of some of that resentment. You're gonna start building more trust with yourself, and then your interpersonal relationships are also going to strengthen by using this process. Okay, because they know when you say yes, you mean yes, and it's like a heck yes. Okay, that's one thing I used to do was like, if it's not a heck yes, it's a heck no. And that really, like, in the moment helped me, especially with like when I had a newborn, was like, I don't know, like I want to go, but like I don't. And like, what about this and that? And it's like, well, if it's not a heck yes, it was just a heck no. That was sort of my like very easy in the moment decision for me to make. And maybe you create guidelines for yourself that are like that for you too, especially during the holiday season when you need to protect your energy and your time. Okay. So I appreciate you joining me today. If you have questions, put them in the chat. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. If you want to go deeper in this work and work with me, send me a comment, say me, and I will reach out and we will schedule a time to talk. Okay. Take care. Bye bye.